Hi, I'm RobCosman. Welcome to my shop. Your plane's not working like this. You've tried and you just can't seem to get it. Well, there are reasons why your plane may not be working. I'm going to go through some more. I'm going to identify them and show you how to fix them. Stay with me and we'll have you doing this. We did a video just a few months ago on reasons why your hand plane might not be working, and it was very well received. By the way, this is a piece of Eastern maple. It's hard, and this plane slides through it without any amount of effort whatsoever. And that's the way your plane should work. Well, we went through, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 reasons why your plane might not be working, and had tons of feedback. And in some of that feedback, some other suggestions were brought up. Why didn't you address this? So in this video, I'm going to add a few more things, or a few more reasons why your plane might not be performing the way you think it should, or the way mine does. And we'll go through and explain it and answer and offer some solutions to it. But when you get your plane working properly, you should be able to peel off. Now that shaving is probably measuring just under 1/1000th of an inch. And what's nice about that is when it's that thin, it leaves such a beautiful surface on the board. Your plane should be able to do that. If it doesn't, there is something missing. There's always a chance it's not a good plane, so you have to keep that in. You can't put lipstick on a pig and make it any better. But there are some things that may just be a matter of tweaking this or that, and all of a sudden, boom, it works. This first issue I'm going to address is more typical of older Stanley planes, or not just Stanleys, but records, antique planes, we'll call them that. Although I have seen it in new planes, and that is the stability of the blade as it's held on the face of the frog. If the face of the frog is not flat, then that blade has a tendency to vibrate. So when you're planing through a piece of hard wood like this, what happens is that blade has a tendency to vibrate, and you don't get near the surface that I'm getting off of this. So if you take it out and you look at it, and then we'll compare and show you what's going on with other planes. First of all, you're also going to notice that the thick blade, and that plays a huge role in helping to keep that nice and stable. But look at the face of this frog. See how much surface there is to support the blade? Essentially all the available surface. And then if you look at this old Stanley, and I don't mean to pick on Stanley, but it just happens to be the one I have, much thinner blade. And there's the comparison between the blade chip breaker and the both. But then if you look at this face of this frog, you have the perimeter and a little bit on the inside. So that could be addressed, and I'm going to show you how we can go in and fix that, and it's a relatively easy fix. But there has to be solid contact between the blade and the sole of the plane to eliminate any of that vibration that would otherwise allow it to chatter, and then you just don't get the performance you're looking for. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to show you how to do it. I've got a piece of float glass, and you want float glass. It's flat, plate glass isn't. And I put a piece of 220 grit Porter cable. I really like this stuff because it has an adhesive back. So whether you're using it to stick it to a block for a sanding block, or whether you're using it in applications like this, it's just extremely convenient. Now we got to take this out. And by the way, if you're wondering, we replace all of the screws in our planes with these hex screws. So much easier to operate. Take that out. Now I need to have access to this, so we'll take this one off. I'll take the adjuster off, turn it the correct way. Now sometimes the yoke, this thing right here, will duck down in out of the way, but this one won't, so I've got to knock that out. Now that pin, it's just a friction fit, so it's not hard to get out. But then I'll just tap that pin. And you want to be careful with this because I've accidentally broken a casting before. See if I can get it to go this way. There. Nail will get that through. Okay, remember your yoke's going to go in that way. Take pictures of the stuff if you need to. I don't need to remove that. But in order to get rid of this, what I'm going to do is file that smooth. And I'm going to do this trying not to hit any of the casting. I'll end up having to take some of this in order to get this pin down to the actual size of the diameter of that hole. Now that might be small enough now that it'll push through. I'll try it. You make sure that's well supported because I've broken pieces of this off. I've done lots of these, in case you're wondering. Come on. So I know I've done 200 of these, maybe 300. I used to teach it. And I've only ever broke one, and I just cracked that one. You can see the hairline crack right there and right there. So I'm not gonna go any further. It's still secure, so I'm gonna have to do it the other way. So I scraped off the old paper because I need to move it right over to the edge. Now, like I said, I won't be able to get the entire surface like I'd like to, but I'll get from here down. So the first thing we want to do is find out if indeed it's not flat. So when you do this, you want to apply your pressure as uniformly as possible. So obviously don't bear heavier on one side than the other. So many fingers as you can. Now, you'll see right away. So we were making contact back here, here, here. See that? A low corner. So that tells me that there's a good chance part of your blade was not even touching the frog. So thin blade sitting in midair, of course it's going to vibrate. I don't know why they didn't do a better job of this. You can see how rough sanding that they did, but obviously not flat. And it usually doesn't take a whole lot to fix it. So I want to have contact out here at bare minimum along this lip. And then as long as I'm touching somewhere over here and somewhere over here, I don't care about back in here. That's not going to make any kind of an impact. But out here, where the immediate support for the blade is, that has to happen. Okay. And we could go further, and you can go further if you want. But that's, I mean, I'm touching, remember that the blade leaves the face of the frog because of the bevel. So it's probably, I mean, it's not making contact right to there, but somewhere back in here is grabbing it. What the heck, I'll spend another minute. Okay, that's good. So it just shows you how not flat these are. I mean, we didn't even touch up in here, and we've taken off quite a bit of material, but this, I would say this is the important part, that forward third of it. Okay, so you saw the problem that we had there. Now I'm going to show you another one. I'm going to remove the frog from my plane. So this is a bedrock style. This is actually a wood river, same on Stanley bedrocks. We take this out, and if you look at the contact surface between the bottom of the frog and the surface of the plane where it actually meets, all the available space is being used. When you look in the old Stanley, and this is actually a good example, some are far worse. So we have, for contact, we have this pad and that pad and that pad. Well, if this was out as bad as it was, what are the odds that 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces are making contact? I'm going to say probably not. So I've got a way of going in and fixing that. It doesn't take a whole lot, but I'm going to show you how to do it. But in order to do it, I've got to take this piece out in order to get better access to it. Okay, I'm going to take this tab off, and I'll show you when it comes to putting it back on. There's a little way to doing it that makes it work a little bit better. And I'm going to take this out of here, not that it's going to be in the way, but clear everything out. And I want to take this, and I don't want to do too much. I don't want to upset this, so, but I just want to get rid of a little bit of rust. Just do enough to clean it up. So that's good. And this one, same thing. I'm just getting rid of the rust. It's going to be, you got to hold it carefully because you don't have a lot of reference surface. And I definitely suggest you only pull it, not push. Okay, that's enough. Now, I'm going to take some of this pair of scissors. We're going to use this to fix these or to mate them to it, so I'll stick that on there. And then I'll trim around. Okay, make sure they're on there well. Now I want to secure this so that it doesn't move. I'd like to get rid of some of that flaky rust just so that it doesn't end up clogging my paper unnecessarily. I'm just going to, I don't want to clamp that with a lot of pressure, but just enough to keep it from sliding about. Now I'm going to take my frog, I'm going to set it in there just the way that it would sit, and I'm just going to move it side to side, front to back, keeping it in contact with those pads. So we're making contact here, we're making contact over there. I got a shiny spot here and we got a shiny spot there. So we've managed to make contact. All right, that's enough. We'll peel those off and put this back together. Hey, if you like this video, we have more. Our monthly newsletter has subscriber-only content, discounts monthly on tools, and anything we bring out that's new, subscribers get first crack at it. Click on the link below. Let's get back to work. Now snug that top one up. Now that little bit of work should go a long way. Still, the weak link is going to be that little thin blade, but that's up to you to go out and get a thicker one, but I would highly recommend it. Last step is to fix the handle, the rear knob. It's really irritating when the rear handle or tote doesn't fit properly or doesn't seat on top of this. It's got that little bit of wiggle in there and it just really takes away from that nice solid feel. So if I look at this, it's not only is it full of crud, but it's sitting on an angle. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to fix this, and I'm also going to fix that. First thing I got. So I'm using my block plane and a small shooting board. Got that laying flat, so this should give me a nice square setup on the sole, or on the bottom of the plane handle. Okay, so that's now sitting flat. This has got some twist in it from over the years. Now we want it to sit nice and flat on here, so I'm going to take my file, get that out of the way, and keeping the pressure here, I'm just going to do short strokes. This is going to take some work But I don't care if I get all of this perfect, as long as I've got shiny areas up here on the sides and on the back, then at least I know when I set that toad on there, it's going to make positive contact. Now, if you want to follow and better tell where you're making contact, just take a marker and color the entire surface. Remember, we don't have to have 100% of it, but we want enough that it makes good solid contact. Now I'm being careful to not do anything with my right hand other than push the file forward. My left hand is putting even pressure on there, so hopefully we're keeping that nice and flat. I'd like to have a little more over on this side. Okay, let's try this again. Now, if this was going to be my user, I would certainly do a little bit of work on this tote, clean it up, might even make a new one. Okay, so that's got some bite. Okay, that's good and solid. Now I'm going to put one of my blades in here just because I don't like the original, and we'll see how it works. Now, don't be fooled. 90% or more of the performance is going to be as a result of the blade, but by adding or doing those little tune-ups we did, it's going to make it perform just that much better. Get this blade straightened out. Too far. Back that off. So here it is working, but I'll tell you, we had a lot of work to do to it. And as I mentioned, a lot of it's the blade, but then these other things all factor in. What I didn't expect was how out of flat it was. So if your plane is picking up a shaving here and then doesn't pick up a shaving until it's back here, what's happening is because your blade is so out of flat, sole is so out of flat, you get the blade to engage here, but then as soon as more of the plane sole gets on, it lifts the blade up out of the wood, and then it doesn't go back into the wood until this part of that concave surface drops down and allows the blade to once again engage. So recognizing the problem, I checked it, and it was 0.08 of an inch out of flat, and that's a ton. That's 2 thicknesses of a sheet of paper. So you're trying to pull off a shaving that measures 1 thou. You can't do it accurately with a sole that's out of flat by 8,000. So we fixed it and did all that work. Now, I'm going to sum this up by saying this. This is common. In these older planes, you're going to find that, even some of the new planes. So if I were out looking for a good experience with a hand plane, I would buy a quality plane and go right to work with a few minor modifications, instead of having to do the amount of work that we had to do in order to fix that. And we didn't do it on a reference plate. We have a machine in there that we use to grind it down, and it was a lot of material to remove. Anyway, hope this helps. Hope you enjoy your hand playing. See you again. If you enjoy my method of work and like my style of teaching, click on any one of these videos to help take your woodworking to the next level. I've always said better tools make the job so much easier. If you click on the plane and chisel icon below, it'll take you to our site and introduce you to all the tools that we actually manufacture right here in our shop. It'll also give you information on our in-person and online workshops.